G'day. Today we're diving into every negative Australian stereotype, and yes, some of them are absolutely true. From casual racism disguised as banter, to politicians denying climate change while the country literally burns. If you're Australian, you'll probably get offended at least twice. If you're not Australian, you'll understand why we're like this. Let's go. The tradie. The tradie is Australia's most protected species. They'll quote you 2 weeks for a job that takes 3 hours. They show up at 10:30 claiming that's early. Their crack is permanently on display like it's part of the uniform. The ute in your driveway has an esky that's 60% full and a toolbox that's 60% empty. They'll charge you $800, then act offended when you ask for a receipt. The quote always blows out by 300% and they'll blame it on something you definitely told them about in the first meeting. They only work ARVO, which apparently means the 37 minutes between smoko and knockoff time. But here's the thing. When they actually show up and do the work, they're genuinely skilled. They'll tell you honestly what needs fixing versus what's a scam. And they'll help their mates move house without asking for a cent. The casual racist, meet Australia's most exhausting person. They start every second sentence with, "I'm not racist, but," and then immediately say something incredibly racist. They blame immigrants for housing prices, job shortages, traffic, weather, their own failures, and probably their receding hairline. They've mastered the art of dog whistles about Australian values while eating Thai food for the 3rd time this week. They share Pauline Hanson memes unironically and think that's political discourse. Their defense mechanism is always, "I have one Asian mate," as if that's some kind of racism immunity card that gets stamped at the border. They'll complain about Muslims while knowing absolutely nothing about Islam except what they saw on a current affair. They pronounce ethnic names wrong on purpose because learning is apparently optional. But if you catch them young enough, some are actually educatable. The younger generation is slowly getting better at this. Some eventually realize their mate isn't one of the good ones, but that maybe their views are just garbage. Bondi Beach. Bondi is what happens when Instagram becomes a physical location. It's influencer hell, where someone's always doing a yoga photo shoot directly in your frame. The seagulls are more aggressive than the bouncers at the Coogee Bay Hotel. A single acai bowl costs $24 and contains $3 worth of frozen berries. Parking is $8 for 30 minutes because they know you're trapped. Backpackers were budgie smugglers that should be illegal under the Geneva Convention. There's a permanent Cold War between locals who moved there 2 years ago and tourists who arrived yesterday. Everyone's pretending to read Hemingway while actually scrolling TikTok. The beach itself is beautiful, but you can't see it through the wall of ring lights and selfie sticks. Some guy's always playing djembe drums badly, while his girlfriend films it for content. But if you go at 6 in the morning before the chaos arrives, it's actually stunning. The water's incredible. The sunrise hits different. 1. It's genuinely one of the world's great beaches when humans aren't ruining it. The real estate agent. Real estate agents are what happens when you give a used car salesman a blazer and a LinkedIn account. They have fake enthusiasm that could power a small city. Everything is charming, which means tiny, or cozy, which means you'll develop claustrophobia, or renovator's delight, which means condemned. They use the word circa before every year like it makes them sound sophisticated. The cologne or perfume cloud follows them like a visible aura. They'll ghost you faster than your Tinder matches, but then call 18 times when they need a signature. Open homes are performances where they pretend that black mold is character and that a crumbling garage is storage potential. They inflate prices so absurdly that a shed in Penrith gets described as minutes from the city when it's actually a 40-minute train ride plus 2 buses and a prayer. But in their defense, they navigate the absolute nightmare rental market, so you don't have to. They deal with insane landlords daily. Some are actually honest about properties and will tell you when something's genuinely terrible. The tall poppy cutter. This is Australia's national sport and we're Olympic champions at it. The tall poppy cutter cannot let anyone succeed without bringing them down to their level. Success equals being up yourself in their eyes. They'll support you right up until you actually achieve something, then suddenly you're a sellout or fake or forgetting where you came from. They ask, who do they think they are about anyone doing well as if ambition is a crime? Someone gets promoted and they'll spend 3 hours explaining why that person doesn't deserve it. A mate starts a business and they're making jokes about it, failing within a week. They treat humility as Australia's greatest virtue, but really it's just weaponized jealousy. God forbid you buy a nice car or house because then you're showing off and need to be taken down several pegs. The phrase, "I'm happy for them but," is their catchphrase, and nothing good ever follows that but. Here's the thing though, sometimes this actually keeps genuine wankers humble. When someone's actually being a dickhead about their success, a little tall poppy cutting brings necessary perspective. Which stereotype hits closest to home for you? Let me know in the comments. The Australian politicians are what happens when you combine incompetence with arrogance and add a dash of corruption. They're out-of-touch boomers who deny climate change while the country literally burns around them. They expense everything, including Hawaiian holidays during the worst bushfire season in history. Their catchphrase is, "How good is?" followed by whatever thing they're currently ignoring or destroying. They own 5 investment properties each, while claiming to understand the housing crisis affecting young people. They show up to flood zones for photo ops, then vote against climate action the next week. Question time is like watching toddlers argue, except toddlers eventually get tired. They blame millennials for not buying houses while simultaneously ensuring houses cost 15 times the average salary. Their idea of relating to normal people is holding a footy at a press conference. They've never caught public transport, never worried about rent, never actually struggled, but they'll lecture you about hard work. Some genuinely try to make a difference though, very small some. Like statistically insignificant some, but they exist somewhere probably. Centerlink office. The Centerlink office is depression architecture made physical. You'll wait 4 hours to be told you're in the wrong office and need to go to a different location that's somehow worse. The building design is specifically created to make you give up and stop asking for help. There are security guards stationed at a place where people come to ask for basic assistance, which tells you everything. The AC is broken in both summer and winter somehow, which defies physics. But here we are. Someone's always arguing loudly with staff about something that's clearly the system's fault, not theirs. The chairs are designed by someone who hates the human spine. Every surface is that specific shade of beige that makes you want to give up on life. The forms require 3 forms of ID: your birth certificate, a blood sample, and a character reference from someone you knew in primary school. The online system crashes more often than it works, but the actual staff are usually empathetic and trying their best. They're dealing with an intentionally broken system. The cruelty is the point, and they're stuck administering it while probably hating it themselves. The "she'll be right." Denier this person ignores every single problem until it becomes a crisis. No preparation for anything ever because she'll be right, mate. Bushfire warnings? She'll be right. Flood predictions? She'll be right. Sunscreen before spending 8 hours in 40-degree heat? Nah, she'll be right. They approach a total fire ban day with garden hose mentality, like that's adequate defense against an inferno. Safety equipment is for cowards. Planning ahead is for people who worry too much. They're genuinely shocked every single summer when summer happens, despite it happening every year for their entire lives. Their car's been making that weird noise for 6 months, but she'll be right. The roof's leaking, but she'll be right until the ceiling collapses. They'll ignore chest pains for 3 weeks because going to the doctor is admitting something might be wrong. It's weaponized optimism mixed with genuine denial of reality. But occasionally, things actually do work out somehow. Their positive attitude can be infectious when it's not literally dangerous. And when crisis hits, they're usually first to jump in and help without overthinking it. The mining XX/FIFO worker. These people exist in 2 categories, but both drive brand new Ranger Raptors. Either they're absurdly rich executives destroying the environment for profit, or they're FIFO workers earning 200 grand, but somehow spending 200 grand. The cashed up bogan phenomenon is real. Away for 3 weeks working, drunk for 1 week straight. Repeat until divorce. The house is empty because they're never there, but it's got a pool and theater room they use twice yearly. Their defense for everything is, yeah, but the money's good, mate. As if that justifies destroying the planet or missing your kid's childhood. They'll complain about environmentalists while literally digging up the country and shipping it overseas. The mining exec owns 7 investment properties and complains about taxes. The FIFO worker owns a jet ski, a boat, and a bike but has 0 savings. Both think they're keeping Australia afloat economically. And honestly, they kind of are, whether we like it or not. The entire economy is basically just digging stuff up. Without them, we'd have nothing except nice weather and education and healthcare. Wait. Western Sydney, Pokey's Den. Welcome to the most depressing place in Australia. It's predatory gambling made physical. The carpet pattern is specifically designed to hide stains and your will to live. Pensioners are losing their life savings $1 at a time, while cocktail waitresses serve free coffee specifically to keep them gambling longer. There are no windows. There are no clocks. Every design choice is psychological warfare. The sounds are engineered by people who studied how to manipulate human behavior for maximum extraction of money. The lighting makes everyone look like they're already dead inside because they are. Someone's always sitting there at 10 in the morning on a Tuesday pumping their pension into a machine literally designed to take their money. The place smells like cigarettes, desperation, and broken dreams. Families are being destroyed so some club can have a new bistro. But here's the most depressing redemption possible. For some elderly people, this is their only social space. They come here because they're lonely and isolated. The problem isn't them. It's that we've failed to create better community spaces. The machines are evil, but the people aren't. The private school kid grown up. This specimen introduces themselves with their school name before their actual name. Hi, I'm James Shaw, class of 2008. Nobody asked, mate. They've never had a real job because daddy's connections got them a graduate position at his mate's firm. Their entire personality is that they rode at a GPS school 20 years ago. They own a boat they use exactly twice per year, but talk about constantly. The casual classism is disguised as banter, but it's just punching down with a private school accent. They think everyone had a gap year in Europe and are genuinely confused when you didn't. Their LinkedIn is 90% networking events at bars that cost $50 entry. They wear boat shoes without socks even in winter. Every story starts with, "When I was at school," as if anyone cares. Their wedding had 200 people and cost more than a house deposit. Sometimes they're actually aware of their privilege, though. Some genuinely use their advantages to fund good causes. They open doors for people from different backgrounds. Not often, but it happens occasionally enough to mention. Australia Day debate season. Every January 26th, Australia has the same fight it had the year before. There's no middle ground whatsoever. It's change the date versus love it or leave, with nothing between. Comment sections turn into absolute warfare. Everyone suddenly becomes a historian despite never mentioning Indigenous issues any other day of the year. Your BBQ attendance becomes a political statement somehow. People who couldn't name a single Aboriginal language yesterday are now experts on culture and tradition. The always was always will be crowd fights the I'm not racist but it's our national day crowd. Both sides dig in. Nobody's mind gets changed. The media loves it because controversy drives clicks. Politicians make empty statements. Someone always brings up that Indigenous people are divided on it too, as if that settles anything. Your uncle posts something horrendous on Facebook. Your cousin argues with him. Christmas round 2, basically. But here's the thing. The conversation is actually progressing slowly. Younger generations overwhelmingly get it. More people every year understand why celebrating colonization on the day it started might be insensitive. Change is happening even if it feels glacial. The Bogan royalty, the Southern Cross tattoo, is their coat of arms. VB is their holy water. They wear thongs to weddings, funerals, job interviews, and probably their own court appearances. Their kids are named Braxton, Jackson, or some other spelling crime against humanity. The Ute is their entire personality, and it's louder than their opinions, which is saying something. They've got "fuck off, we're full" bumper stickers while driving a Japanese car and eating Thai food. Casual domestic violence jokes are just humor to them, apparently. They think sunscreen is for soft cocks. Their idea of formal wear is a clean bintang singlet. They'll fight you over football teams, engine sizes, or literally nothing if they've had enough piss. The mullet is making a comeback thanks to them, unfortunately. Every sentence contains at least 3 swear words. They're somehow simultaneously nationalist and completely ignorant of Australian history. but they're genuinely loyal friends. They'll help you move without being asked. When your car breaks down at midnight, they're there with jumper leads. They're community-minded in their own chaotic way. The local footy club runs because of them. They coach junior teams and organize fundraisers. Rough around edges doesn't mean bad. The Uber driver / gig worker. Your driver has an engineering degree from overseas. They ask about your job while working their third job today. Their PhD is literally displayed on the dashboard like a sad museum exhibit of Australian immigration policy. They know more about Australian politics than most citizens because they actually studied for the test. They're a victim of the skilled migration scam where we promise opportunity, then refuse to recognize qualifications. They came here with hope and got Uber Eats instead. They're working 70-hour weeks while you complain about your 40. Their degree that took 6 years is worth nothing here, but somehow their driving is fine. The whole gig economy is exploitation dressed up as flexibility. No sick leave, no super, no security, just constant hustle. They're always polite despite dealing with drunk idiots every weekend. Some passengers treat them like servants rather than humans. The app takes 30% of their earnings, but their work ethic is genuinely shame-inducing. They're usually friendlier than they have any right to be given their situation. They help elderly passengers with shopping. They return forgotten phones. They represent what Australia should be about, hard work and giving people a fair go. We've just forgotten that bit. The local RSL/Bulls Club. Welcome to racist boomer headquarters. This is back in my day central with pokies in every corner. The dress code is strictly enforced for 20-year-olds, but completely ignored for 70-year-olds. Wearing thongs and stained shirts. The cheap schnitty is the only redeeming feature, and even that's questionable. Someone's always complaining about young people on their phones, while watching Sky News at full volume. The Pokies revenue funds the whole operation, which means it's built on predatory gambling. Every wall has photos of people from wars mixed with gambling machines, which feels deeply wrong. The bar serves beer that's been on tap since 1987, probably. Someone will definitely say something casually racist before you finish your midi. The bowling green is immaculate, though, which shows where priorities lie. New members are treated with suspicion unless they're white and over 60. But it's genuinely a community hub for elderly people who'd otherwise be isolated. Some actually do support veterans meaningfully beyond just using them for branding. They organize community events and support local kids' sports. The older generation needs somewhere to gather, and despite everything, this is it for many. Summer bushfire denial season. Every summer, Australia pretends bushfires are a surprise despite them happening every single year. It's always been like this, say people ignoring all evidence to the contrary. Climate deniers tweet about how it's just weather while literally standing in smoke. Thoughts and prayers get offered instead of policy changes. The same people blame arsonists, despite evidence showing lightning strikes and climate change are the main factors. They blame greenies for not doing enough backburning while voting against funding for it. The country burns. Politicians deny. Insurance companies flee faster than residents can evacuate. Fireys volunteer while the Prime Minister holidays in Hawaii during the worst of it, then comes back for photo ops. People lose everything. Someone always says we need to focus on the real issue, which is apparently anything except climate. The trauma is real and ongoing, but we do nothing different next year. Look, these are just stereotypes and patterns, but if you're feeling called out, maybe ask yourself why. But here's the genuine redemption. When crisis actually hits, community response is incredible. Neighbors help neighbors. Strangers open homes to evacuees. It proves Aussies genuinely help each other when things get real. The corporate middle manager. This person speaks exclusively in buzzwords. Let's circle back and touch base to action, some deliverables going forward. They send emails at 7 in the morning specifically to prove they're working, even though everyone knows they just scheduled it. Their coffee order has 7 modifications and takes longer to say than to make. The LinkedIn is pure inspirational poster material. Grateful to announce this. Excited to share that. Nobody's ever actually that excited about corporate reshuffling. They're completely useless in any actual crisis, but great at looking busy. Every problem needs a meeting, which needs a follow-up meeting, which needs a workshop, which needs a task force. They've never actually produced anything tangible, but they're excellent at taking credit for their team's work. PowerPoint is their love language. They use synergy unironically. Questions in meetings are just opportunities to hear themselves talk. but in fairness, they're the buffer between workers and upper management psychopaths. They absorb a lot of bullshit from above so it doesn't hit everyone below. Some actually do protect their teams from the worst demands. They fight for small victories like work-from-home flexibility or reasonable deadlines. It's not much, but it's something. Westfield Food Court. Every Westfield food court is identical to every other one nationwide. It's the same 12 chains arranged slightly differently. The teenagers are loitering like it's their job. Everything's overpriced because they've got you trapped with nowhere else to go. The fluorescent lighting is specifically designed to make you look and feel awful. It always smells like a mixture of boost juice and existential sadness. Security follows any brown person around like they're personally responsible for crime statistics. The courts are always somehow sticky no matter when they were cleaned. Parents look dead inside while kids scream. Every second person is on their phone, ignoring whoever they're with. The food is aggressively mediocre. Oporto peaked in 2005. Noodlebox is lying about being authentic. Sumo salad is just expensive lettuce, but it's got working aircon during summer, which makes it invaluable. The people watching is actually genuinely fascinating if you're into observing humanity. You see every type of Australian compressed into one space. It's democratic in its awfulness. Everyone suffers the fluorescent purgatory equally regardless of class or background. The aspirational wanker. This person's Instagram lifestyle has a Grand Canyon-sized gap from their actual reality. They're pretending to be richer than they are and bankrupting themselves doing it. Brunch costs $50 3 times per week. They're investing, which means they bought crypto or NFTs and lost everything. They rent in Bondi, but their hometown is actually Penrith, which they never mention. The finance bro energy is strong, but the degree is humanities, which isn't wrong. Just funny, given the persona. Every photo is carefully curated to suggest wealth they don't have. The designer bag is real, but they ate instant noodles for a month to buy it. They talk about building their empire while working entry level. They've got a side hustle that's definitely a pyramid scheme. LinkedIn inspirational posts about grinding and hustling. They're drinking champagne in photos, but it's the cheapest bottle from Dan Murphy's. The watch is fake. The car is leased. The confidence is real, though you've got to give them that. But ambition isn't inherently bad, honestly. Sometimes fake it till you make it actually works. Some people genuinely do manifest success through sheer determination. Not often, but occasionally. What's your worst experience with Australian culture? International viewers especially. Let me know. The hospitality worker. They're perpetually hungover because the only way to survive this industry is to become part of it. They live entirely on staff meals, which explains a lot about their health and mood. They've said enjoy 400 times today and died a little inside with each one. They can carry 8 plates at once, but can't carry a conversation with family anymore because small talk was beaten out of them. They know every single rude customer by face and have detailed revenge fantasies. Sunday penalty rates were their only joy, and now even that's under attack. They've been yelled at for things completely outside their control 17 times this shift. Someone tried to use an expired voucher from 2019 and acted like they're the victim. Tips barely exist in Australia, and when they do, it's coins left passive-aggressively. Their feet hurt. Their back hurts. Everything hurts. They smell like whatever the special was. They've cleaned up things that should require hazmat suits. But they're genuinely the backbone of Australian social life. They deal with incredible abuse and stay graceful somehow. They remember your order after meeting you once. They make small moments better with genuine service, despite everything working against them. The property market. Crisis boomers love giving advice about housing. Just save money, they say, while house prices increased 900% since they bought theirs. Cut out the avocado toast, says someone who bought their first house for $60,000 in 1987, when median salary was $20,000. Now median house price is $1.5 million for an absolute shitbox, an hour from the city, and median salary is $70,000. That's 13 years of every dollar you earn, assuming you don't eat, pay rent, or exist. Politicians own 5 investment properties each and can't understand why young people are mad. Negative gearing is treated as sacred and untouchable despite obviously making everything worse. "When I bought my first house" is always followed by context that proves they had it infinitely easier. They worked part-time at a servo and bought a 3-bedroom house. Now you need 2 full-time professional incomes to rent a moldy 1-bedroom apartment. Boomers genuinely don't understand that the math is completely different now. The scales aren't just tipped, they're absolutely shattered. But some people do actually acknowledge the problem and advocate for real change. Some boomers recognize they had advantages millennials don't. Progress is slow, but it's happening. The small business tyrant. Their favorite phrase is, "No one wants to work anymore," which they post on Facebook at 2 in the afternoon on a Tuesday. They pay below award wage and are shocked when staff quit. They blame millennials, the government, immigration, regulations, taxes, and everyone except themselves. They take 3-hour coffee breaks while calling employees lazy. They've never heard of work-life balance and think wanting weekends off is entitled. They demand loyalty while offering none in return. "We're like a family here" means they'll guilt trip you into unpaid overtime. They're personally offended when you use your legal sick leave. They post long rants about how small business is dying while driving a new luxury SUV. Every staff meeting is them complaining about how hard they have it. They've never actually done the jobs they're managing. They think minimum wage is generous. Annual leave requests get met with sighs and lectures. But some genuinely do struggle with costs and regulations. Running a small business is actually difficult, especially competing against chains. Some do treat staff well and fight to pay decent wages despite tight margins. They're trying their best within a system that makes it hard for everyone. The servo at 2 a.m., the 2 a.m. servo is a fascinating ecosystem. It's simultaneously meth central and your salvation during road trips. The pie warmer contains food that's been rotating since last Tuesday, probably. The cashier sits behind bulletproof glass, which tells you everything about the clientele. They charge $8 for milk because they can, and you're desperate. There's always some guy in high vis buying 4 Red Bulls and a pack of Winnie Blues at unholy hours. Someone's definitely asleep in their car in the parking lot, and no one's calling the cops because, honestly, who cares? The coffee machine hasn't been cleaned since it was installed. The hot dog has been rolling for days. The bathroom requires hazmat certification to enter. Every surface is sticky. The lighting makes everyone look like extras in a zombie movie. But this place is genuinely salvation when you're 3 hours from home at midnight and need fuel or caffeine or both. The cashiers have seen absolutely everything and judge nothing. They're there at 2 a.m. serving whoever needs serving without questions. They're probably the most non-judgmental people in Australia because after seeing everything, nothing shocks them anymore. Respect to them, honestly. The university student perpetual. They're in their 6th year of an undergraduate degree. They survive exclusively on mee-goring and guilt money from parents. They act extremely politically woke but won't attend any protest or meeting before 11 a.m. They've got a $2,000 MacBook Pro to take notes in Microsoft Word. They've said, "I'll start the assignment tomorrow every day for 2 weeks, and it's due tonight at midnight." Their sleep schedule is completely backwards. Lectures are recorded, so why attend right? They're always about to start studying properly next semester. They've changed majors 4 times. Their textbooks cost $600, and they've opened them twice. They work 10 hours per week and complain about being busy. They drink goon and pretend it's ironic when it's actually just cheap. Their room is a disaster zone. They've attended every O-Week event for 6 consecutive years. Their degree that should take 3 years is somehow stretching to 7. They're convinced they'll figure out careers eventually, despite doing nothing toward it. But they're genuinely the future of the country, whether we like it or not. They actually care about climate change, inequality, and social issues unlike the politicians running things. When they finally do engage, they're informed and passionate. They volunteer and organize and give a shit. That's more than most people. Christmas in 40-degree heat. Australia insists on hot roast dinner during a heat wave, which makes absolutely no sense. Everyone's pissed by 10 a.m. because that's the only way families survive each other. There's bushfire smoke ruining lunch more years than not now. Uncles already started a political argument before turkey's even served. Someone's wearing a jumper for the photo despite actively sweating through their shirt. The logical option of cold prawns and seafood gets ignored for imported Northern Hemisphere traditions. The aircon can't keep up. Kids are melting in cheap polyester Santa outfits. Whoever's cooking is having a breakdown in the kitchen. The pool is full of relatives you see once yearly. Someone brings up house prices. Someone else brings up climate change. Grandma says something casually racist. Your cousin's new partner looks terrified. The ham is dry. The turkey's somehow both dry and undercooked. Drinks run out by noon, so someone makes a bottle-o run in the worst heat. But it's genuinely a unique experience that binds Australians together. Beach Christmas is actually beautiful when you focus on that. Family time is valuable despite all the chaos and arguments. We complain, but we keep doing it every year because ultimately it matters. So yeah, those are all the negative Australian stereotypes. Some are definitely true and some are exaggerated, but probably based in something real. Let me know which one I got completely wrong or which one hit way too close to home. Subscribe for more stereotype breakdowns that'll definitely offend someone.